What up? Welcome to episode 23 of the Dealer Talk podcast. So I often think how relevant it is in the landscape we have today, the tactics and sales techniques that were developed prior to the environment, right? The technology, the data, the digitization that exists in our industry. Today, we have a 30-plus year veteran ready to give us some insights on this very topic. And we're also going to be talking about training and some other nuggets that you can definitely benefit from. So make sure to grab some paper and a pen and take some notes on this deal. It's going to be awesome. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to share this episode, share this podcast with a friend, somebody that can benefit from the practical advice and take it back to the dealership to implement on their day-to-day. All right, so without further ado, let's go to the episode. Here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dealer Talk. We're very excited to have the conversation today. We're going to be talking about the steps of the sale and the evolution of that. So our guest today has tons and tons of experience. So I'm very excited to be able to have a conversation with him and just kind of, get some of his insights on this topic. Erik, what's up, dude? How are you?
Hey, great morning, Herb. Fantastic.
Dude, all right. I love the energy, man. Right on, dude. Hey, man. So very excited to get our guest on and have a conversation. But I kind of wanted to kind of set things up with you and obviously kind of pick your brain, because of what you guys are doing at your store. So, we had Ed French on the show and we had a great conversation with him. And one of the things that he was talking about that really stuck with me is he was talking about how the steps of the sale was a process that was designed, for different times. And he said, it's very hard to change a process that made you a millionaire. Right. So, how have you guys at your store? Are you guys still doing the 10 steps to this or 10, what's it called? The road to the sale or something like that? Is that still what you guys do?
Yeah. For the most part, the foundational steps are still there, but I mean, you have to alter the state of play only because it's not the same customer walking in the door, right? It's a more educated customer for sure. They know invoice pricing. They know KBB pricing for trade-in values for their vehicle already. A lot of times they're already pre-approved, so they know interest rates and whatnot, and typically they have some sense of what the payment's going to look like. So it's a more challenging opportunity, but look. The fact of the matter is that, pressure makes diamonds. So, I mean, I think it's an inviting one as well, and one that I relish. So, even though it might have altered a little bit, I don't think the steps necessarily as a foundational aspect change, but it's that from the customer standpoint for the field of play, they're different, but that's designed to make us better.
Right on, man. Okay, cool, dude. Yeah. So let's definitely have a conversation and get into it. But, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So today we have a great guest on the show. Lots of experience, right? And I'm very, very excited to be able to have the conversation with this person. So without further ado, our guest for today is the one and only Mr. Jensen. Jay, what's up, sir? Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, Lord Almighty.
Oh, man, there it is.
Dude, I'm trying to beat Erik. Now I'm all wore out at my age. That took all my energy. I got to take a nap.
We need to pause so you can take a nap.
Where's my malto meal?
That's funny, man. All right, dude.
Well, hey, yeah, it's kind of like deja vu. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, but God, it's always good to talk to you guys.
Good stuff. Likewise, man. Hey, so first question I always ask is, can you just give us a recap just so for the listeners?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I've been in sales forever. Got into it in timeshare back in 1986. Did that, loved it. Didn't know what else I could do. Got into car sales, and I've just been doing that most of my life. Got into, I went and sold furniture for a while. That was boring. But yeah, I mean, I always like to say I've sold everything that could be sold,
Oh,
including, well, narcotics. But
oh.
I think the 7 years passed. I'm okay on that. That was in the 70s, buddy. Everybody was doing it.
Everybody looks at it. I like that. So, what about at the dealer? So you've obviously sold cars. What other positions have you had?
That's been pretty much it. I've done a little financing and done a little desking and everything else. Just kind of dabbled everywhere. But I tell you where I like it is on the sales floor. It's more exciting. It's kind of pure sales. I don't have to mess with the other stuff like salesmen like me. So I'd hate to be in charge of myself.
So, dude, that's a good perspective there, right? Because obviously the business has changed a lot since you first started. Could you kind of share a little bit of your just your perspective on that?
Well, it's changed. I mean, it's gone from here's what we used to do back when I first you got the phone book out, and they said make 50 phone calls. So everybody would start at the A's, okay? And they'd call 50, 100 people and get done. But that was it. You want to buy a car? You know anybody that wants to buy a car? Send them in. I'll get you $50, And the bad thing is about the phone book, everybody with the A's up to Anderson got called every day, but nobody ever went into the B's and C's to call them, But that's what it started with, an old Rolodex filled with numbers and a snooker box. That was it. That was car sales, and now you got, you get to work, you hit the computer, your phone will tell you when you wake up, hey, you got a lead in here, give them a call. And, the steps of the sales, I like what Erik said on that. It hasn't changed. And that's one thing I always say, it hasn't changed. I mean, it's still the same thing, but it's when the customers get involved. And when they finally reach out to us, they know what they want. They have all their information, and best thing to do is don't fight their information, embrace it. I'd rather sell somebody that's educated than somebody that doesn't know or is misinformed.
Right. Now, how long you been on the tower? How long you been on the desk?
Now, just not that long. Right now, I'm back on the sales floor.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, listen, you have desking experience, and that's what the knowledge we're trying to pull from. That's the pool of knowledge we want.
Yep.
So as compared to maybe, let's go 10, 15 years ago, how has the process from the desking aspect, how do you think that's changed?
Well, it shouldn't change. It's the process hasn't changed. It's got to be the attitudes have changed.
Okay.
Of this desking manager. I mean, we still have problems listening to our salespeople.
Yeah.
I mean, you come in, and I told a story once. I'd put it on LinkedIn about Terry Thomas, Radigan Motors, when I first got in the business. He was great. I would come in with somebody that had, I don't know how the car got there, and he would tell me we need that car, and to reinforce a positive attitude instead of like, oh my God, what are we going to do? They got to trade that in and beat you up, And so the role of the desk really, we get in our ways a lot of time at the desk. It's a lot of it's ego. We're not going to do what the customer says. We're going to do it my way. And that's the thing that needs to be changed.
Well, from a sales standpoint, how do you stand up, or how do you raise your hand and get their attention enough? I mean, I understand that obstacle, but how do you? Well, man, how do you, from a sales standpoint, then how do you say, hey, listen, man, we're just not getting it done? I mean, is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? Is there a successful way? How does one, achieve success from that?
Well, okay, here, Erik, you're my desking manager. I come in, I got a guy that wants to buy a car. Okay, you ask me a question. What's he got to trade? I don't know. He's got something. What's the
Okay, well, the car. Have you shown him the car? Because it's not in here. I mean, have you? Which one are we on?
Can we just work numbers first? He has a trade out there. You want to take a look at it?
Numbers on what? We haven't even seen the vehicle yet. Have you shown him the vehicle? Have we test drove?
If I can show it to you, if you look out the window behind that pickup, this is where the trouble starts. Okay, again, it goes to it's not trained. You hear that as a manager, and you're going, oh, here you go again. Yeah, this guy wants payments of $300 a month, and we're on a $70,000 Denali. Okay, does he have money down? I didn't ask. Okay, so
whose responsibility is it then to have that conversation? Whose responsibility is if the desk is not doing it and the sales staff is maybe lacking in knowledge? Who owns the responsibility? I mean, that's as far as being trained up on that.
It goes back to the desk and above, So, as we're saying, it's easier if just like salespeople, just tell them have the answers. All I need to know is what they're trading, all the information the customer has. All you got to do is ask them for it. I talked to a guy yesterday, a new guy, and I was going, what's the guy's, he's been with him 2 hours. What's the guy do? I don't know. He's got a lot of money. What's he do? I didn't ask. Why didn't you ask? Well, I don't know. Said, if you go to a bar, you ask a girl, hi, what's your name? What do you do? Where you're from? I said, those are normal questions you have in a conversation. But a lot of it is we just want to hire these people, get them on the floor and go. So it's really not the desk. There's so much that needs to be changed because it is a faster environment now in sales. The sales process actually goes quicker than it used to. And because they have everything. All you got to do is ask the questions. But as a desking manager, have the answers and we'll make it go a lot smoother. Instead of me asking questions, you should be telling me what's going on with the customer. Does that make any sense to you?
No, yeah, right on, man. So let's develop that a little bit because I like what you just said here on the fact that it's quicker, the fact that it's faster. What do you mean by that? Is that because of the fact that the customers have the information already that they did not necessarily have in the past? Is it because of technology? Is it a combination of the two?
Well, yeah. I mean, they know. They're confident when they come in. We got to make sure they still have the right thing and not fight them. And you still got to I always say, don't rush the close. It'll be there when it's time, But it is. I embrace technology. I embrace that they're educated. It's doesn't mean you're going to get all minis either, by the way. Everybody says that, and that's not true. But it goes quicker at the beginning. You just got to learn how to get the information out of them, and not confrontational. Confrontational. It's not an interrogation. It's a conversation with the customer. Then take it to the desk, and then they need to listen and understand where you're coming from. And sometimes they got to ask, what do we need to do here, buddy? And take it from there.
Okay. So, one question that I had was the dynamic between the sales and the desk manager, right? Mm-hmm. Because, that's something that's kind of still a part of the process for most stores.
Yeah.
And this concept where the salesperson is having the conversation with the customer, and then they get up and they're like, I got to go, talk to my manager, whatever your word is to excuse yourself. And then you go and then now you have this negotiation with your desk manager away from the customer. So how do you feel about that process? Doesn't that disconnect you from the customer? And then doesn't that create some distrust in the customer's mind of like, what's going on? Like, why am I not a part of this conversation right now?
Here's God, I'm full of analogies, ain't I? But it's the same. If you get in a fight with your partner, spouse, whatever, and you storm out of the room, it's not good. That's why you sit there before you leave. You try to figure stuff out and work on it. I mean, it's the same thing with the customer. You should, and don't be afraid to tell your customer what's going on, what you're feeling. I mean, don't run to the desk right away. That's your lifeline. I mean, it's try to hammer stuff out. But yeah, if the customer's just you're not getting anywhere, then you go to the desk and then you try to explain that yeah, I got a difficult customer. I don't know what's going on. You need the desk instead of yelling at you. Just say, hey, what do I need to do? That's still one thing with the desk is a lot of times managers don't want to. Can you go talk to my guy? Nah, you figure it out. Let him go. But anytime there's confrontation in there, you got to be a peacemaker. You got to kind of figure out what's going on.
So let me ask you this, and this is, no. I think it's.
No, go ahead, buddy.
It
provides. You're trying to trap me. I'm going, okay, now I got it.
No way, man. I want to. This is, our audience. I want us to be very respectful for the audience, because typically I'd love for a new salesperson to be able to listen to this conversation and gain some tremendous value from it. So my question to you is this, and it's a great question because from your perspective, having been on the desk to now back on the sales floor, it's an altered view, which I think is fantastic. So my question is this, you specifically talk about embracing technology, okay? So embracing technology, as a salesperson, how do we set ourselves up for success if we, in fact, are embracing technology?
Well, how do we embrace it?
Please.
We got to know how to use it. And we got to figure out where the systems are at. You know what I mean? It's technology, people know what their car is worth, but then they go on Kelley Blue Book and they do it private market, or whatever, private sell. This is what I need to get, but you got to figure out where that information's coming from and then go through it. But embrace the technology. And again, sales is still asking questions. Where did you get that price? Where did you see this at? And you can't sell without asking questions. It just doesn't work. So embrace the technology, but understand technology can hurt you and it can help you. It's just how you take that data that you get.
Yeah. So, what's your recommendation to a brand new salesperson coming on the floor?
Go to work at
we're standing there with our hands in our pocket, looking around, and maybe we're at a point where we're just thrown on the showroom floor. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's some training involved. But how does one begin if nobody's willing to help us? We're just kind of like fed to the sharks per se, and we're put here in the great big ocean. We got to figure it out. What are some of the things that we can be doing to stand out and to have success? Just tell me how to do that. That's what I want to know.
Well, for a new guy. You got to learn to ask questions, but you got to have somebody to know who to ask the questions to. Uh-huh. And with me, I've been blessed. I got in a timeshare and I'm just going, holy crap, what's all this? And I had people take me under the wing. A couple of the old guys that sold in the 60s, and they learned from the guys in the 40s. And, they liked me and they'd pull me aside and kind of tell me what's going on. This is why you do it. But if you're new, yeah, I've seen so many people go that'd be great in this business, and you try to help them, but nobody else helps them.
Right.
I can go tell you, okay, go hit all your buddy, go hit cars, put them on rummage sites in town, and all the vehicles, and get your hits, and go out and prospect, and give your cards to everybody, and sales is easy. It's the hardest job you can have, but it's the easiest job. But there isn't much to it, but there's a lot to it. It's a lot of moving parts.
Right. Right. Do you think there's some value from just paying attention? You think there's, do you just, do you buddy up to I don't want to say a battle buddy, but do you shimmy up to somebody that's doing something and pay attention and ask a lot of questions? Do you just stand in a corner and watch what's going on? I look, I have a family to support. I want want to achieve something today. What's the best way to do that?
Well, it's like anything. If you want to succeed, you got to want it. You got to go out and get it. You can't. You're at the high school prom. You want to dance with somebody. You don't sit in a corner and wait for them to come up to you. You got to go out and get it. And it's the same thing in sales. If you're just starting off in sales, best thing you do is just ask questions. If they're out in the lot, jump out there the first thing, help move the lot around. If it's a little bit of snow, go shovel, but
I love that.
But you got to work. You're at the ground level, but yeah, if you want to get my attention, grab a shovel, go out and snow, or you see some cars with the windshield wiper laid up for the last 6 days because there's no gas in it. Well, go throw some gas in there for me,
right?
Right. And it's like anything. You got to gain my trust before I'll give you mine. Unfortunately, that's the car business because we see so many people come and go, and then, well, hey, this kid really wants to make it. This kid, gal, guy, whatever wants to make it. He's, then it's more easier for me to go over and kind of explain, hey, do this one. Yeah, I saw you talking to that guy. And, you should always just, if they're serious, you get them in this door. Before they leave, turn them over. Come grab one of us, see what we can do to help you. And then after they leave, you just talk to them and about what happened. But that's how you get, started in this business. You got to make yourself stand out from the rest of the guys in the corner.
Love that.
Hey Jay, I got a question on the mentoring side of things. Is that a thing in the dealership? I mean, do you get paired up with somebody with experience for, I don't know, a month or two or whatever, and kind of work in tandem with that person? Or, what do you see as far as mentoring at the dealership level? Or what have you seen? Not just where you are now, but.
No, there's none of that anywhere I've been, you get the sales trainer that sat with them 2 weeks and played, a bunch of videos on how to sell, and they may check in once in a while when the class is done. How you doing, buddy? If you need any help, I'm free in 3 weeks. But there isn't, and it's hard for me. One, nobody wanted anybody to shadow me because I'm all over the board. I'm like popping popcorn with no lid on the stove. I mean, there's popcorn flying everywhere, but no, there's no more mentoring. And a lot of people don't have time for it because it is fast. Well, what are you doing? Okay, I got to enter, I got 3 text messages in just in the last 10 minutes. I got to send some emails out. Got to work on this. I got to get this car ready for delivery. I got to do this, that. I got to get a credit app. And then you just don't have time, to really sit down. So the best thing I do is when I get a free minute and I see I can help somebody, I'll just sit down and talk to them. I don't tell them how to do it. I just kind of, hey, I like to deal with the conversation. Just, ask questions. You're not being nosy if you ask the customer what he does.
What about role playing? I've always thought that would be huge in the automotive industry, right? Because we're constantly out there talking to customers, but sometimes there's a saying that practice makes perfect, but I'm more of the opinion that practice makes permanent, right? And if your stuff is weak and you're practicing a weak process, you're just making that perfect, right?
Yeah, role playing.
So with all the different people at the store level, you got people that are doing 20, 30 units and people that are doing 10. Would there be an advantage to having some sort of role playing session within the dealership world? I mean, do you think that there's some gain there?
Oh yeah. Like I say, role playing, it's just not for the bedroom anymore. It's for the deal room, the showroom floor too. Here's what we do in training. Hi, we teach you to say hi, welcome to XYZ Motors. Are you working with anybody? We teach them how to qualify, but we don't teach them how to do anything after that. You'll go downstairs, and I even say a walk around, and I'll tell you, it was kind of funny because this place I just started working with, helping a buddy out, and he went out and had me do role play. I'm going, dude, I don't want to do this. I suck. We're sitting there. But again, he was asking me he was hammering me with questions. Get out there. What's my payment on this? What my trades were? He was he made it difficult. It wasn't a real thing, but it doesn't hurt to go out and I make it fun. I mean, just to do a walk around with the vehicle or just even work on stuff with people. But when they have an organized role play, it's very uncomfortable. I don't like to do it. I don't, nobody does. But if you have to, have fun.
Hey, so in today's, because we talked about technology, and there's so much information, like on YouTube or whatever websites, LinkedIn, that there's so many. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be. You don't necessarily have to have a trainer come into the dealership. I mean, there's so much information as long as it's the right information, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much information out there, at least to get the basics on how to talk to somebody, on how to present a Foursquare or the offer, whatever everybody calls it. I mean, do you believe in that? I mean, have you used that in the past? Is that something because that can be a form of mentoring as well? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. You mean like even how to present numbers or how to have I just did that a couple of days ago. Like I said, the salesman didn't have any answers. What's the guy do? And I went over and I showed him. I just did it with him. Hey, so where are you from originally? He was from Oklahoma. How'd you get up here? What's your mom and dad do? He went to college at OSU. And I said, see, that's what you do. I learned all about you in a minute. Did you feel uncomfortable? No. So that's the kind of role-playing mentoring I do. Or when somebody lets a customer leave, it's the second time back, and then it's a new salesman they left. I was going, what's going on? Oh, they had to do this, that, and that. And I said, just turn them over. But that's kind of the training I do.
Right.
But
what is because I mean, obviously we're trying to get the customer from point A, walking in the door, to point B, driving home in the intended vehicle. What is some of the, I mean, what's the easiest way to transition that? What's the easiest way to take somebody that's initially looking to get, I mean, what is sales? I mean, in your opinion, just bottom line me, bro, just in the shortest answer possible and the most impactful thing you can say, what is selling a vehicle or selling anything? What is that?
It's not manipulating. It's that's a good question. Especially in this politically correct world, I'm persuades the wrong answer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to persuade you to do something. I always say it's just uncovering a need, then finding out that they want to get it fixed.
I love that.
I mean, that's it. It's, and we're not sitting there manipulating them, or if we follow a process, or I've gotten ripped on LinkedIn because I said, I might ask you a question now that I'm not going to use till I close, but I want that in my bag of tricks. Well, you're manipulating them. No, I'm not. I don't know why. No, it's sales. That's why people get paid bazillion dollars a year to teach you these things. I mean, it's like, here's my car. Here's the keys. Do you want it? What can you tell me about it? I can't tell you about it because then that's manipulating you. And that's not, we can't do that because then we get a bad name. We got to sell people.
Well, I like what you just said right now, Jay, where you talked about uncovering and then, kind of fulfilling that need. I had a conversation with the GM a while back, and he said, it's funny in today's world with all the information that we have and the fact that dealers or the fact that consumers or potential buyers are going to 1.5 dealers. Anybody that walks through that door is a buyer in the sense that they've already chosen our dealership, right? And so the only thing that my guys need to do at my store is remove the obstacle that customer is bringing in with them, because they always have something, but they're here because they're ready to buy, right? They've done all their research. They spent 14 hours online. They've compared us. They've looked at our reviews, and they still came here. Do you agree with that? I mean, it's kind of in line with what you were just saying right now. But I mean, do you believe that that's the case?
Well, yeah. Yeah, of course, you're going to get the people just love to shop. But no, when they get there, and again, that's why you got to, again, we're not supposed to take control because that's what salespeople do. But, you got to build a friend. You got to be able to ask questions. And then they'll tell you how to sell them, And again, with all the information they have, they feel smarter if you're asking them questions and they know the answers. You go, wow, yeah, okay, cool. You did your research. Good for you. And then tell them, hey, I love that you did your research. Then they'll open up more and they'll be more than happy to tell you how smart they are. And does that make I love it when people tell me I'm smart. I don't hear it very often, but yeah. So if people are
I think that
yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
think your ability as and this is, look, man, I've never seen you peddle a thing. So, but I would think that your strength, your ability that works for you is just your ability to have a real transparent conversation. I think I think there's something to be said for the great communicators that can put people at ease, get people to lean in and really pay attention to what you're saying. And I think what you do, I think that from everything that I've seen, witnessing you online and with your comments that you make, that I think that you're just an apology yeah, you're just a really good communicator.
Yeah, until like I'm on a podcast and I sound like Captain Kangaroo, but no, I'm blessed because I like people, and I will say I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and dude, I don't even know how to get in the room, so there goes that one. But I like people, and I like to hear stories. I'll tell stories. God, I couldn't tell you. I don't know how to set up Bluetooth. I tell people, they go, well, how, I can answer their basic questions, but if they get in like, what's my horsepower and torque? I'm going, the only torque I know is Peter Torque. He was on the Monkees.
Nice.
I'm going, I get that information for you, and it's, whatever. But all I know is how to get along with people, how to, listen, answer, and get to where I'm at. And I've been blessed with that. Thank God for that. I mean, that's,
So let me ask you this, Jay. This is, I don't want to say it's a negative question, but when do you get to a point, you're on the floor, you're doing your thing, but when do you get to a point where it's like, listen, this is not for me, man? Like, when do you get to that point where you have to realize that this is not, that you're not cut out for this?
When you wake up hating it, hating work, you get there, you hate work, and you leave work and you hate that you got to go back in the morning.
But do you see
So,
guys? Because I don't know. Sometimes I'm talking to people at the stores that I consult with, and I try to talk to everybody, right? So I'll talk to the salespeople, and
yeah,
some of the conversations that we have, you could just tell that this person is just there, just to kind of be there.
yeah.
And I've always found that interesting. It's like, he's just another body at the store, but you could tell that they're just not in it.
Well, you know why? Because when they apply for the job, well, the ad said I'll make up to $200,000 a year, get to meet people, work in a fun environment, and instead of going to Disneyland and paying, it sounds like they're going to pay me to go to Disneyland. And then the reality sets in. Their expectations were set wrong.
But do you think that that stores maybe fail the people at the level of training part of it, where if they offered more consistent training and development, the individuals would stand a better chance?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's like anything. It's you got to have you got to have support. You got to have somebody there to help you and when you're down, lift you up and do that. But again, in the car business, I'm not the greatest guy in the world. I mean, my skate record is pretty clean. I've never wanted to, but I try to help people when I can, and there just isn't a lot of that anymore. But again, too,
and again,
yeah, go ahead.
This is what I'm trying to get down to, is that the ability to, because there's strength in what you say. You say, "Oh, I'm not the best, and I don't know everything," but there's power in that too, to be able to look a customer in the face and say, "You know what? The reality is I have no clue, but I can certainly find out the answer." I mean, that there's power in that. I mean, I don't think you have to know everything walking in off the street into the showroom floor. You absolutely do not. There's power in the fact that you can look at a customer and say, "You know what? Here's the bottom line, okay? I'm going to work my butt off for you to get you the best deal possible, get you in this vehicle. But as far as the torque is concerned, I don't know. But if that's seriously a concern for you, I'll find out. I think that's your strength. I think anybody can own that strength walking into a dealership at any time, is to be able to just be able to walk in and say, you know what? The fact of the matter is that I can hold a conversation with somebody. Therefore, I can represent them to the desk, to the dealers, to the management, and get them into this vehicle. I mean, there's strength in that. So, I mean, I think that's your sword per se. I think that's your strength.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing with the two new guys. I said, here's the deal: just have fun with the customer, and ask questions. Say, ask questions, listen, and that's what you need to do. That's why I say in sales, we get in our way sometimes. We try to be too tricky. I say sales like chess, you got to be 3 heads, ahead of the customer, 3 moves ahead, but it doesn't mean we have to manipulate the board. Just kind of know, in sales, I'm going to ask this question now. I'm not going to use it till later. But sales, again, it's like your Swiss watch. I mean, so many little pieces, and if you don't have that one little piece in there, your clock doesn't run. And it's like the sales process. You have to know all these little movements, which really aren't much, but if you take one out, it stops the whole process.
Right on, man. Hey, so dude, it's been awesome to have you on the show. I really, really appreciate your insights. I think this is going to be a good one for those people that are on the showroom floor to take a listen to. Before we do our wrap up, though, I just wanted to, put your expertise and your knowledge here as a final insight. So in 2019, right, as we see the ebbs and flows of the business, technology, efficient market, right, buyers and sellers having the same amount of information, what would be the one takeaway that you would want to leave folks that if they do anything else, they should definitely make sure that they're doing this?
Well, I always do embrace objections, because without them, you can't sell anything. And embrace technology, but understand what it is. And, since you were talking about the desk and the salesman, learn to work together. Communication's huge. I mean, you got to have that open line of communication. And that's 2019, I guess, if I had my New Year's resolution, which I already lost all 3 of those, but it would be, embrace technology. Don't make sales any harder than you have to, and just have fun and communicate.
Right on, brother. Hey, man, thank you so much. So there's one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that's, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
It ain't going. I mean, I did a video on this, and it's not going to change, except, how can I put this? It can change. I mean, everybody's worried about us being kiosks, but if we just do our job and don't get them a reason for them to go buy from a kiosk, it'll be the same. But just treat people with respect, do the right thing, and again, don't fight your customer. I mean, if somebody comes to your house, you don't beat them up because they had 2 pieces of turkey. It's the same thing as your customer. They're there for a reason. You understand that. You invited them in, and then do that. And then they won't go home and order the car online. They won't, Carvana or the vending machine or whatnot. But that's probably where the car business is going. It's in our hands, and it's what we do with it.
Right on, dude. All right, sir. Well, hey, man, listen, thank you so much. Just for the listeners, and we'll definitely put this in the show notes, but how can people get in touch with you, Jay, if they wanted to connect with you?
Just on LinkedIn, or shoot me a message. My email is jjdudejensen, from college, at hotmail.com, jjdudejensen@hotmail.com. Or just shoot me a message. I'm also on Facebook.
Right on. And we'll definitely make sure to put Jay's information in the notes. So if you want to check it out there as well. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate having you on the show. Appreciate your knowledge, man, and your insights. And that's all we got for today. As usual, we'll talk later. So you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much. Just want to remind everybody to go to the website at dealertalk.biz.
Leave us your questions. Give us your feedback. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk later.